At the door, my dad looked me up and down and said, "Just don't ruin this day like you usually do." My sister said, "We were actually having fun until now." I didn't respond. My daughter squeezed my hand and said, "Can we go?" I smiled and nodded. We left. 1 hour later, my mom called in a panic. Why did the card decline? I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. 10 minutes later, we hadn't even made it through the front door before my dad hit me with it. He gave me that cold once-over like I'd showed up to a funeral in a clown costume. Then, with his usual lack of grace, he muttered, "Just don't ruin this day like you usually do." I caught my daughter flinch slightly. She doesn't always understand the words, but she picks up on tone. She's only 8, but being around my family has aged her in a way that bothers me more than I admit. From inside the house, my sister's voice floated out, "We were actually having fun until now." No one corrected her. No one ever does. I didn't respond. That's how it's always been with them. They poke, prod, jab, and expect a reaction. But over the years, I learned that the best revenge is stillness. That and leaving. My daughter tugged my hand gently. "Can we go?" I looked at her. She had on that little denim jacket she loves, the one with the pink unicorn patch I sewed on after a sleepover meltdown last year. I smiled and nodded. We turned around, walked back to the car, and didn't look back. An hour later, while she slurped mango smoothie and pointed out clouds shaped like ducks, my phone buzzed nonstop. 9 missed calls, all from my mother. Then a 10th. I let them go. On the 11th call, curiosity got the better of me. I picked up. "Why did the card decline?" That's all she said. No hello, no pause, just panic. I could hear clattering plates and murmuring in the background. A restaurant, of course. I didn't say a word, just tapped the screen and flipped on Do Not Disturb. My daughter asked if we could walk by the river next. I said, sure. 10 minutes later, another buzz, a text from my dad. "What are you trying to prove? This isn't how family works." The same man who once told me, "If you didn't want people to use you, maybe don't make yourself so available." He said that after they used my credit to refinance their lake cabin. The same family that calls me selfish when I say no, but responsible when they need another $2,000 for home repairs. They forgot who pays the bills, who runs the accounts, who owns 80% of the family business because they didn't want the responsibility when my grandfather died. That card they used, like it came from a tree in their backyard, it was the first thing I shut down. And they thought it was a glitch. They had no idea what was coming next. They called 13 more times that day, left voicemails with fake calm and manufactured concern. My mom even tried texting my daughter, which crossed a line I didn't know I had until I saw her name on that iPad screen. I didn't answer any of them. The next morning, they tried using the card again. Once at a car dealership, my sister was apparently planning to lease a BMW, and once at some resort spa in Sedona, my mom had booked for wellness. Both declined. That's when my inbox lit up. First, an email from our family lawyer, Mitchell. He's been with us for over a decade, or more accurately, with them. He CC'd my dad and sister with a subject line that read, "Clarification regarding corporate expense access." The body was short. "Monica, please confirm this is a temporary restriction and not a formal change in the business structure or access protocol." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened the corporate dashboard, checked the most recent transactions, and flagged every non-business expense from the past 24 months. The total came out to $181,392, and that was just what they hadn't bothered to hide. Then I scheduled a board meeting. I didn't tell them. See, when my grandfather passed, he left the company equally to all of us, but I was the only one who wanted to actually run it. My dad said he was too old to learn the new systems. My sister was exploring her spiritual path, and my mom wanted to focus on interior design. So they signed over their management shares in exchange for a generous monthly draw, $11,000 each, on the condition they'd stay out of operations. For a while, it worked. I kept the company growing, expanded into 3 new states, built a team of 32 employees. I thought the peace was worth the money, but now they had crossed every line. The board meeting happened quietly, just me and 2 of our advisors, both of whom had been waiting years for me to clean house. I revised the structure, ended all family stipends, and had Mitchell removed as legal counsel for conflict of interest. I drafted the letters myself and mailed them certified, so they'd have to sign when they received them. 3 days later, the screaming started. My dad showed up at my office, or tried to. Security turned him away. My sister sent a 12-paragraph Facebook message that started with, "You've always been jealous of me," and ended with, "You'll regret this when we're gone." My mom tried the old guilt angle, left a voicemail sobbing about how family is supposed to support each other, but her version of support looked a lot like theft. That weekend, my daughter and I went camping for the first time. Just the two of us. No emails, no cell service. We made s'mores, and she asked if we could build a treehouse when we got back. Meanwhile, back home, the collapse had only just begun. By the time we got back from the camping trip, everything was different. I hadn't checked my phone in 2 days. When I finally did, it looked like a digital battlefield. Over 70 missed calls, multiple angry texts from numbers I didn't recognize, and a flood of emails, all demanding the same thing. Why? The final straw came from Mitchell. A formal letter this time, not an email. He was trying to reverse the decision to remove him as counsel, citing inadequate notification and long-standing loyalty to the family entity. I almost laughed. The man billed me $400 an hour for emotional labor after a board call last year. Loyalty wasn't part of the package. I didn't respond. I had already hired new counsel, a quiet, sharp woman named Eloise, who specialized in cleaning up legacy family firms. She reviewed everything, nodded once, and said, "About time." Back at the house, I found 3 unopened packages from stores I never ordered from. My mom had used the business account to buy a $20 coffee table and a chandelier that looked like it belonged in a palace. It was all getting returned. That was the last thing I processed before shutting the account down for good. The silence that followed was eerie. No calls, no messages, no threats, just nothing. It stayed like that for 6 days. Then a mutual friend called me, someone I hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey, I don't want to get involved," she said, "but your sister is posting videos online. She's crying on camera. She said you're blackmailing the family and that you tricked them into giving you control." I watched one clip. That was enough. The fake tears, the slow zooms, the Venmo link in her bio. She called herself a victim of corporate gaslighting. I didn't say a word. I just forwarded the video to Eloise and went back to braiding my daughter's hair. 2 days later, my dad emailed me a PDF file. It was a lawsuit draft. They were trying to claim I acted in bad faith, that they didn't understand the documents they'd signed 10 years ago, that the monthly payouts had become their expected livelihood. The language was clumsy. Mitchell must have drafted it before I removed him. Eloise reviewed the draft and smiled slightly. "They're bluffing. They won't file." She was right. They didn't, because they knew that discovery would ruin them. The documents, the emails, the recordings from board calls, where they openly joked about mooching off Emily. I had it all. They knew I wasn't bluffing. But here's the thing. I wasn't just cutting them off financially. I was cutting them off completely. The first real crack in their armor came on a random Wednesday morning. I was sipping lukewarm coffee and scanning invoices when I saw the mail carrier drop a thick envelope on my doorstep, certified. I thought maybe it was another desperate letter from Mitchell or some passive-aggressive Hallmark card from my mother pretending nothing happened. It wasn't. It was foreclosure paperwork addressed to me, or more specifically, to Emily Walters, the supposed co-signer of a $200,000 second mortgage on the lake cabin, the one my parents had claimed was fully paid off years ago. The same cabin they used as their personal vacation retreat, but justified as a company asset to get tax breaks. I stood there in my kitchen, reading the document line by line, my stomach twisting. My signature was on the loan documents, except I'd never seen them before in my life. They had forged my name. I called the mortgage company. At first they were polite until I said the word fraud. Then I got transferred to 3 different departments. Eventually, a manager admitted the cosigner authorization had come through an email verification. I asked for the email. It was a Gmail address. Not mine. Just 1 letter off. Nika 1981. My name, 1 letter missing, tucked into a fake account they used to approve the loan without me ever knowing. My hands weren't shaking. I wasn't crying. I just stood there, with the kind of silence you learn when people around you take too much for too long. It was calculated, premeditated, and they had used the business card to make the monthly payments until I shut it down. That's why it was foreclosing now. They ran out of options. I sent the documents to Eloise, who responded immediately. "If you want to press charges, we're already halfway there." I didn't answer her right away. That night, while packing for a weekend away with my daughter, just something quiet by the ocean, I went to the back of my closet looking for a duffel bag. Instead, I found something strange wedged behind an old photo album. A manila folder, dusty, unlabeled. Inside were old tax documents, some still paper-clipped from years ago. Most of it was junk, but at the bottom was a thick envelope, addressed to my grandfather. The return address was from a law firm I didn't recognize, dated 2 months before his death. I almost threw it aside, but curiosity won. The next morning, I called the firm. After a long pause, the woman on the other end said, "You might want to come in for this." 2 hours later, I was in their office staring at a photocopy of an addendum to my grandfather's will, one I had never been told about. It changed everything. The addendum stated, in plain legal language, that he was transferring 100% ownership of the business to me. Not 80%, not shared, full control. He wrote that he feared the rest of the family would misuse the company and believed I was the only one capable of running it with integrity, the only one he trusted. But somehow, it had never made it to the reading of the will. How? I asked. The lawyer shrugged. It was mailed to his home address as instructed. After that, it was out of our hands. I sat in my car afterward for nearly 20 minutes, watching people come and go from a gas station, the world spinning like nothing happened. They had hidden it. They found that envelope and kept it from me. They lied to the lawyer who read the will. They let me believe they still had some legal claim to the company, and they collected $11,000 a month under that lie for nearly a decade. I drove straight to Eloise's office. If this holds up, I asked, what happens? She didn't even blink. We retroactively nullify their shares. Every dollar they took, they'll owe it back. There was a long pause before I spoke again. They'll never recover from this. Eloise gave a faint smile. No, but maybe they'll finally understand who they were dealing with. Eloise didn't waste time. Once the addendum was verified and filed, she moved faster than I thought the legal system even allowed. Within days, I had confirmation from the court. I was the sole owner of the company. Not 80%, 100, retroactive to the day my grandfather passed. They had buried that document thinking I'd never find it, never questioned the terms, never pushed back. They were wrong. Eloise filed a restructuring notice with the IRS, the state, and the business registry. It was official. Their monthly draws were unauthorized. Their claim to any stake in the business was erased with one court stamp. And the kicker? They now owed back taxes on the money they took, nearly $1.3 million. So I didn't sue them. Not right away. Instead, I did something worse. I gave them 30 days. 30 days to vacate every company-owned property they'd been living in like royalty. The lake cabin was listed under corporate retreat expenses. Gone. The downtown condo my sister turned into her Instagram set. Gone. The Arizona house my parents stayed in during business trips. Gone. Each of them got a letter, notarized and hand-delivered. All it said was, "You are no longer authorized to reside in or access the properties listed below. You have 30 days to vacate. Legal enforcement will follow any violation." I never heard screaming so loud through silence. That same week, I found something else I hadn't seen coming. An envelope from the IRS. Thin, but heavy. Turns out my mother had filed tax returns over the past several years, claiming consulting income from the business. Not a small amount, 6 figures per year, all based on fake documentation. She had used old letterheads and forged signatures, mine included. Eloise was the one who broke the news after reviewing the file. She could be looking at serious charges. I said nothing. I just added it to the folder, the one I was building quietly. 3 days later, my sister's kids were expelled. I had canceled the tuition payments for their private school. She hadn't bothered to pay a single semester herself in 3 years, just forwarded the invoice to me like it was part of some unspoken deal. She found out from the school's automated system. Then came the voicemail. It was only 5 seconds long. "You'll regret this. We're blood." I didn't delete it. I saved it, labeled it, "Family Final Days." What none of them realized was this wasn't revenge. Not really. It was repair. I had spent years being the duct tape holding them all together. They used my generosity like a faucet. Twist it when needed, walk away when done. And now that it was off, they didn't know how to breathe. My dad tried to text a single sentence. "This is your family. You're throwing it all away." I didn't respond. He never once asked if I was okay when I was working 80-hour weeks to keep the company alive while they drained it like a bank account with no limit. The final push came on a random Tuesday. I got a call from a mutual friend. one of those distant family-adjacent types who always thinks they're the peacemaker. She's crying every day. Emily, you should have seen her packing. Your sister's heartbroken. I almost believed it until the friend accidentally forwarded a screenshot of a group chat. My sister was calling me mentally unstable, saying I was obsessed with control and planning to take everything out of spite. They didn't get it. I wasn't taking everything. I was just reclaiming what was already mine. They went quiet after that. No more threats, no more fake apologies, no surprise visits, or last-ditch efforts to change the narrative. Just silence. A silence so complete it felt like winter after a storm. Everything still, nothing moving. I didn't hear from my dad after the eviction deadline passed. My mom didn't bother to text when the Arizona house was officially sold. My sister deleted her video rants and shut down her Instagram entirely. And Mitchell, I assume he slithered off into some other family mess he could leech from. He never contacted me again. By the time the 30 days were up, everything was finalized. The properties were locked, utilities transferred, and a locksmith had been through each address. I sent a small crew to clean up. The lake cabin was the worst. Wine stains, broken drawer handles, and a gold-framed photo of my sister in the master bedroom, like she owned the place. They left everything behind, like they thought I'd come running to fix it. They still didn't understand I wasn't coming back. The company, now completely mine, has never run smoother. We cut costs, raised salaries for our core staff, and doubled profits in 1 quarter. And not one person asked about my family. No one missed them. I took my daughter to New York to see the first snow. We ice skated in Central Park, ate overpriced waffles at midnight, and stayed in a hotel with a rooftop view. She looked at me one night and said, "You don't work as much anymore." I told her I was working on something different now. My parents used to talk about family like it was a currency, something you invest in for what you might get back. But that's not what it is. Family isn't about who's related to you, it's about who protects you, who shows up, who listens. And they failed all of that. Maybe one day they'll understand what they lost. Maybe not. I used to wonder if they'd ever change, if one of them would show up with a real apology, if there'd be a moment where they finally got it. But I've stopped waiting for that. We haven't spoken in months now, not a word. No one speaks to each other anymore. And maybe that's for the best. For now, there's peace. There's quiet. There's space to breathe and raise my daughter without the weight of people who only knew how to take. I don't know if there'll be updates. Maybe this is it. But for now, thank you all for your attention and support. Poi.